Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast, episode 2 of BBL. With me tonight, as always, my partner in crime, Glenn, mate. How was your week last week, mate?
Yeah, I did okay, I guess. I got 1,203. I mean, I had a lot go wrong to get that. I ended up swapping friggin' Swepson up to Kuhneman. I swapped friggin' Clark to Murr. I made these last minute changes just before a game. I had a stack of players only play one game in a round full of doubles and triples. But I'm not going to complain. Others got less, so well, I can work with that.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I'd be stoked if I got 1,200, mate. I got 1,023, so sitting pretty ugly there. But I took a few risks at the start, and those risks didn't pay off with all the game cancellations. So unfortunately, not too well. It could have been a lot worse though. Like having a one gamer and having as Richo was my captain, like could have been a lot worse. But he did all right. So it would have been nice if he played two. But them's the cards. One thing I want to talk about before we get started, guys. Overall, group leader right now is De Kock on Wood, 1366. That's Michael. He's currently ranked 124th overall. So well done, Michael, mate. Doing some good work there. I hope the start continues, mate, and you get a good score. So, all right, let's talk round two, Glenn, mate. We've got Adelaide Strikers versus the Thunder, mate. What are we looking at here? You got team list there?
Yeah, I do. So I'll give you what's been read out, which is so for Thunder we've got Bancroft, Davies, Gilks, Hales, Hatcher, Khan, McAndrew, Nicaratis, Ross, Salmon, Sam, Sandu, and Sanger. The side that I've predicted, whether that's right or not, this is my predicted side, will be Hales, Croft, Gilks, Davies, Ross, Sams, Green, McAndrew, Hatcher, Khan, and Sanger, which means that Sandu, Salesman, and Nicaratis, whoever you say his name, will drop out. And for Adelaide, we've had a 15-man squad named Short, Agar, Baz, Boyce, Doggett, Jose, Khan, Lynn, Menenti, Nielsen, Overton, Payne, Darcy Short, Thornton, and Weverald. And the side that I've predicted for this. Now, look, this is a hard one to predict, guys, with the bowling, but I'll go through the batting, which is Darcy Short, Matt Short, Lynn, Jose, and Weatherald. I'm pretty confident those five are your first five. I reckon it's Baz, Overton, Menenti, Nielsen. Then it's out of Thornton and Agar, who gets that one spot, and then Payne will be your 11. Possible to miss out could be Agar, Boyce, Doggett. There's a few others that I've missed there. But yeah, that's the side that I'm sort of going with. They're saying Weatherall's going to come in at 5, so I'm pretty confident with the top 5, possibly 6.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky with the bowlers, especially with a lot of these fringe bowlers have had a lot of
Yeah.
first grade BBL experience. Like you've got the Thorntons, you've got the Agar. He's had a lot of game time now. So I was like, if he's on the fringe, it's like it's definitely a very strong bowling lineup. But yeah, I think before the show you're talking about the batting lineup might be a little bit weak, and I think they're pretty bowling heavy. So yeah. A lot of players in here. Any players here that you're thinking are sure things you have to have?
Well, I don't know about Shaw things. I think Darcy Short points per dollar makes sense. I think Lynn. I mean, we all know what Lynn can do. I mean, in the top 20 players last year, they were all rounders. The only batsman that made it up near there, Lynn was one of those. Um, so that, Matt Short is an interesting one. So I would have said in any other time that he's a certainty, but at 244k and with the amount of bowlers being, I mean, there's anywhere up to 7, even 8 bowlers in this team, mate, which says to me there's a world where Matt Short doesn't bowl or he bowls one over. Am I prepared to pay 244k for a just bat? I don't know. How that team gets named will be interesting. The other one that I really like is Baz, but I'm scared for his job security. But I feel like the batting lineup is weak, and therefore I feel like Baz is needed. And Payne. I think Payne's the only one of those bowlers that I feel confident enough that will play both games.
Yeah, definitely. I've got Baz at the moment. I've got Baisley in my team at the moment, and for that reason that you said, they are so weak or not very deep with the batting. Like I'm not saying they're weak because they've got some great batters here, but they're not very deep. They don't bat very deep. So having someone like Baisley who can bowl quite handy and bat, they might need to fill some all rounders into this team to really. And then does he when he plays? Does he even bowl the 4 overs? I think it's a bit of a challenge there with the. You want to have 5 key bowlers in a team normally, not the full 7. That's a bit tricky.
Well, astute super coaches will look very closely at the team that's named. And I tell anybody, when you look at the team that's named for Adelaide, look at it really closely and have a look and try and think, okay, who out of them is going to get their 4 overs? And then where does that play out? Because you've got players like Darcy Short that can bowl, Matt Short that can bowl, you've got Overton that can bowl, you've got Basley that can bowl. And then if they name 4 mainline bowlers and a spinner, and then you've got Overton and Basley in there with Matt Short, someone's dipping out, mate. And, so, do they bowl 3-3-3-3? Like, do they, game specific? I just don't know. So take a really good look, punters out there at the side, and try and work out the best you can how you think it's going to play out, and hopefully you get it right.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because I was eyeballing this game last week and I want to see what they're going to name. And then, of course, this is the only game that gets fully watched out with no teams getting named. So frustrating because I wanted to have a bit of a look before the double, and then they just do that to us. This is like how they write movies, mate. This is
That's
right in the middle. So, I am going to fade Lynn. It's a risky move, but I think Lynn, if he gets out early, he's getting nothing. And that's if he gets a score, he gets a lot. So it's a big risk, but it could be a very beneficial risk as well. Fading Lynn, that's a big move for me. I want to have the all-rounders and try to avoid those low scores, and that's what I'm trying to do with my team.
So if I'm going to fade, a just bat is where I'm looking to fade. You know what I mean? So I would be more likely to fade a Lynn than I would say a bowler early on in the piece. I just think at Adelaide Oval, Lynn, I think they all play both well for him. I'm not overly impressed with the Thunder team. They used 7 bowlers last week, and there's not a lot in there apart from Hatcher that really worry me in that bowling lineup. And I actually think that Lynn, Short could actually, one of them could take off. But I agree with you. If I'm going to fade somebody, I'd be more inclined to fade a Lynn than I would a Basley if they bat first and he bats 6. So I don't disagree with your thought process.
Yeah, you got to try to think as well a bit more logically as well. Because one thing that we all know, Lynn is great against pace. Looking at the Thunder lineup there, we've got Tenby Sanger. Any other real spin bowlers here? I can't remember the game. I don't remember. Green.
Yeah, Green and Sanger.
And Green is very smart. I reckon when Lynn comes in, mate, I guarantee you Green and Sanger will be the ones bowling at him. I think, and I reckon they'll target Lynn that way. So that's my theory. Because I think one thing I do love about Green is he's a very smart and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to pick those things when he's not throwing the ball. So
yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, look, any batsman is volatile in BBL. We all know that. A just bat, and it's disheartening. If you've got play 170 for a just bat and he gets out straight off the bat, it can be painful. But it can also be painful to watch someone like Lynn when he gets in. There is a world, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was like me last week with Munro, mate. I was like, Munro's just a batter. I'll miss him out. And then he goes nuts. And I was like watching this going, I'm turning TV off now over it.
I couldn't believe how many faded. I mean, Munro, I understood. I owned Munro, but I understood people fading Munro. But the one that really shocked me last week was Sutherland. The amount of people that faded Sutherland was just insane to me.
Yeah, I faded him and I regretted it because remember the last podcast we had a Honeyball on and he was telling us, Ben was telling us that the bowling lineup was a bit weak and he'll need to bowl his 4. And I was like, I had him in my team and then I needed to get funds because a certain player didn't get named, so I needed to upgrade that certain player, and I'll end up downgrading Sutherland to get that player, and I was so frustrated that I did that. So,
a bloke that bowls 4 and he's going to likely bat every time with 2 doubles in a row, 2 doubles, in the first 3 rounds, I just thought was a no-brainer for myself personally. But I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, and after I've got the score, like if it had gone the other way, you're a genius. So it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Honestly, if it went the other way, I wouldn't claim to be a genius in any way. If he is bowling 4 and he bowls terribly, and then he bats at 5 or whatever, he still has that potential to get massive scores. So I'm still not a genius. I just got lucky.
BBL's a volatile game, mate. Anything can happen, like literally.
Yeah. Well, you saw the Shane Warne Cup scores, mate. Up the top is like, was it 2020?
1380.
Yeah.
1400, yeah. And then the bottom one of the bottom ones is one of our Supercoach guns, really, and it was Timmy from Supercoach Playbook, who's 734. I had to double take. I said, that's not our Timmy, surely. There was quite a stack of people, though, under 1,000, and there was a few with 800 scores or lower. And, then there was a good collection of people above me with scores as high as 13. One was 14, as you said. I think it was 14. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, shout out to Hamto. I'm sure he'll appreciate this. He's currently coming second overall. So
SS side all did well. They all had 1,300 scores plus. And but we'll see how it plays out as the season goes. Sometimes people stack heavy at the front, and BBL's an interesting one because I often see good scores at the start fold. I remember a couple of years ago, Maxie getting 1,400, and I got 800, Ty got 700, and we flew on by him by round 4, so it can be done,
Oh, poor Maxie.
Oh, no, Maxie's a great player. Just that season he made, it's just luck, man. A lot of it's just luck decisions.
I remember we had him on the podcast towards the end, and he just had the worst luck with it.
Yeah, he's bad luck. It's nothing to do with his choices. Just some get the luck, some don't. Danny, you know that.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so let's have a bit more deeper look into the Thunder. I'm not sure any plays in here that are really well. I like Tanvir for the cash grab. If you're interested, he gets a pretty good score last week. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I see a lot here, mate. So, look, Hales, his points per dollar, I think, on the bench. I mean, look, Thunder have a double coming up round 3. I think that they play the first 2 games, round 1 and round 2. They're the first team up, you know what I mean? Have I got that right? Sorry, round 3. They play the double round 4, but rounds 2 and round 3, they play the first game in both, which is perfect players to have on the pine, right? So, Hales, Gilks, Sams, well, not so much Sams, Hales, Gilks, and Tavir Sanger. I think Sanger is almost a must-have points per dollar. You either get him now or you can't afford him. Hales, his price points per dollar, I think makes sense. And I think Gilks, as long as he stays top 3, that covers your keeper, bat, and bowl. But Sam's only bowled 2, interestingly, last week. And, again, they used 7 bowlers. So I'll be watching Sam's closely this round, mate.
Yeah, he did get smacked around pretty heavily, didn't he? Those first 2
in the first over, he did, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't. I don't think he wanted to come back. I think he said, "I've had enough." No, but I think also the spinners really took control of that game as well. So I think that's what has happened. That they used as many spinners as they could in that game. And Hatcher had a cracker game too.
I really like Hatcher. He thunders in. He hits the deck hard. He's a really good bowler. He's passionate. I love a cricketer that's got passion, and he's got it. I like to win. I like players like that, and he has that. He's a bit over the top, but I love it.
Yeah,
the big red.
We got big red. We got big red in the Raiders, and then we got big red for the Thunder.
That's right. That could be Thunder's right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I like Sanger. I had him in my team, and then he was the one that I told you before the podcast. I wanted to get some more strikers in my team, and the game got washed out to try to prepare this week, and I traded him out. So I was a bit disappointed with that. What I could do there. But
who did you trade out?
Sanger.
Oh no! That was the trade you made to get Weatherald.
Yeah, to bring in another
brother.
striker. Yeah, I wanted to bring another striker in to build my team up for this week. Figured that they're not going to play. I may as well build me team up for round 2, and then I got rid of Sanger. So that was a bit disappointing.
So Sanger was in every side I had from the beginning, and then I threw him out too. I actually got rid of Sanger, and I got rid of Swepson, and I'm so annoyed on both. But I've actually picked up Sanger this round. We'll talk about trades later, but I'm actually grabbing Sanger. I'm actually quite prepared forward, I hope. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's it. Alrighty, we'll move on to game 2. We've got Scorchers taking on Hobart. So a lot of good players here for Scorchers. What do you have a predicted lineup there for them as well, or?
Yeah, I do. I don't have predicted lineup. I actually don't. I haven't gone further than those 2 games because they haven't been named, So we're just going to assume that it goes on the teams that were named. But the players of interest to talk about for me would be Hardy. Hardy is batting really well, bowling 3 now. He only bowled at the end, but this is at Optus, so I expect him to bowl more at Optus. I thought O'Connelly was really good, so if you're looking to bring in O'Connelly, this would be the round to do it. The big question is, do you sell Richo or you tie? I mean, Richo at his price point, right? He's got a high break even, and he's got 2 buys coming up in a row, right? Can you hold that much money on the bench for those 2 buys? I don't know. But at Optus, it's a brave man to sell him off. I own Richo, I own Hardy, I own O'Connell. I already own him. But I'm looking at pushing possibly Richo off or Munro, but Munro's got a bigger break even, so I'm thinking I might sell Richo, even though I know it's going to cost me, just to make the coin where I want, and it allows me to put the side together I want to put going forward.
Yeah. I am too scared to sell Richo. I think I'm doubling down. I got the captain on him this week, obviously with the VC earlier. We'll talk about it later on. But yeah, no, I actually got the other cheapie last minute from the Scorchers before the game started, and then the game got
McKenzie.
Yeah, McKenzie. Yeah, so ended up doing all right. A bit frustrating because that first game got called off, but it was definitely I was happy with that move. Nice cheapie. I think the reason behind it was the fact that they're spinning and they were playing in Melbourne. I'm pretty sure they're playing that game in Melbourne, so I figured that they'll have a pretty good spinning deck there. But playing in Perth, do they use him? Does he get drops? You never know. They might want to go bring another fast bowler. But in saying that, he played too good to get dropped. He was on a hat trick.
Yeah, I don't think McKenzie makes it back, mate. That's just my opinion. I will see, though. I think O'Connell stays, and I think they'll go with the quicks in this game. I think that Behrendorff, Richo, Ty, and who's my other one I just said? Hardy, I think, bowls, and then possibly Morris. You know, I just think, and because they can have O'Connell in the batting lineup and bring him on for their pace, and they can still have a pace lineup. But look, I'm just surmising. I don't know. Like you, I just think Perth, it's at Optus, right? Yeah, like you, I'm scared to let go of Richo. But with that break even, that point, you know, look, there's still a world where I sell Munro over Richo and forgo the dollars and pick up the points, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I haven't got the option of selling Munro because I'm the one of the idiots that didn't get Munro. So, but yeah, but I'll still be keeping anyway. Just for one more week. But I'll be definitely. I don't think I'll be able to hold for one. That 2. I'm not going to hold for 2 game buy. That's definitely something I'm not going to do.
The question is, if you own Richo, are you going to sell him next week, Dan?
Yeah, more than likely. I'm not going to hold him for 2 weeks. I'll need to get someone that's a marquee kind of player in my team that I can use as a captain. That's probably playing a double game. So, but I like him at Optus against Hobart. So, speaking of Hobart, anyone from the Hobart team that is you think that would be worth a trade in this week?
Well, I think that one player of interest that's a pod is Anderson. I thought he was friggin' incredible. So if you're looking for someone, I mean, he's averaging the highest score at the moment. He's doing really well. So he'd be the only one. I mean, I don't think Hobart fits into the plans going forward. But if you are looking for one, Anderson makes some sense. I mean, McDermott, McDermott points per dollar makes sense. If you're looking for a keeper and you can't afford someone, you need to trade down, you could get McDermott. But not really. I'm just looking at my Hobart side here, mate. I've got it here. A little bit all over the shop here today.
I've already got McDermott. That's the only one I've actually got is McDermott in that from the Hobart team. That's because he's so cheap.
Jeez, I thought Jewel was good. I really like Jewel. Yeah, I really don't, mate. I just think that the prices on all of them are quite exy. Yeah, the only one I liked was him.
Yeah.
Anderson, 105.
Jewel is such a really handy batter. Like he's kind of like the same as what McDermott was a couple of years back. When he went down that run where he went and got 2. Was it 200s in a row or something he got? It was something ridiculous. Or was it 250? No, it was 200s he got in a row. And then then the week after, everyone bought him. I didn't. Yeah. And then he got 2 ducks and a double. That made me so happy that I dodged that bullet. I love Jewel. I think watching him bat is really good to watch bat. He's taking style. I think McDermott is turning into what Darcy Short turned into. Hey, remember how Darcy Short was that really aggressive player, did all right, and then he had to back off because he was getting out too often. I reckon McDermott's now becoming that. He has to slow down, and Jewel is taking over that role, which is done amazing work. Watching him bat's been really good.
Yeah, I agree with all that. You know, I think there's a few. The fact that they don't have any doubles coming up for a while, I don't think they have any doubles. Period. Oh yeah, they do round 7, I think, from memory. Round 7 is it? But before that, you know, like that's a fair whack between now and then. So I mean, Hobarts don't fit into my plan anywhere. But the only one I think would make sense would be Anderson or McDermott.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the next game. That's Melbourne Renegades versus the Brisbane Heat. Few options in the Renegades, I think. Especially, obviously we've got Sabo, who's an obvious option, which I missed out on. I went the Mujib route instead, which hurt me a little bit, but I think Mujib will come back good.
Yep.
I like Mujib. And then obviously we've got Quinton de Kock, who has yet to really show anything. But looking forward to seeing what he can do. Any thoughts here, Glenn?
Yeah, well, I think Fraser McGurk could be a bring in if you're looking to, get someone like. It's not so insane to be bringing in Renegades, given that they've got a double coming up. Yeah. But Sutherland for mine is a must-have. I mean, even if you've got someone in a double for Adelaide that's a bat like Lynn, right? He bats twice, right? Sutherland's going to bowl and bat. It's an equivalency. I just think Sutherland personally, if you don't own him, get on. You know, like seriously, because if you don't get him now, you won't get him, or you're going to pay up for him because he's, you know, low break even. He's batting, he's bowling. They're behind a great pack. I mean, Richardson, Rogerson, Mujib, Zampa, and Sutherland. That's a formidable bowling outfit with Clark, Quinton de Kock. Was it? I can't remember who the other one was. Finch, McGurk, Maddo. There's a formidable batting lineup to boot. You know, like that's a good side.
Yeah.
But maybe the ones I'd be looking at. Look, Clark. If you're looking for a keeper, I actually like Clark. If you can afford to get Clark, Sutherland. Yeah, I wouldn't be selling any of them.
Yeah, just quietly live trade. I just traded in Will Sutherland. So I just traded him in. Yeah. I think,
just then.
Yeah, just then. Yeah. So
thank me later, bro.
Yeah, that's it. But I ended up I traded. This is stupid. I probably will change it, but I traded out Curran for him. I think.
No, I don't hate it. Sixers don't fit in the plan, mate. Sixers don't have any doubles coming up for ages. Like Curran to him's a good trade, in my opinion. Yeah. Others might not agree, but I think it's a perfect trade, given the fact that he plays a double.
Yeah.
I'm going to go as far as to say Sutherland will be the top scorer this year as Supercoach.
Yeah, I like that. Makes me feel better now. Awesome. But yeah, the Curran, I was disappointed in Curran in the first game, but then game 2 he made me feel a bit better. So.
It's not mine to own. It come from Tyrone, but I'll own it. I'll own it. I'll speak like it come from my authority.
Love it. Awesome. All right, so we know the Heat. I'm gonna have a bye next week. So you wouldn't really bring anyone in.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, there are. If you're looking to make cash, I mean, Swepson is got a low break even. Munro does have a low break even. So there are people in the trading that are bringing those players in. The Swepson one I can get my head around based on points per dollar. I think Munro's a little exy to be bringing in to make coin, but if you own him, you know, I'd be keeping him probably, unless, you know, I mean, he is just a bat after all, you know, but that would be the only two, I think. Let me just look at my Heat lineup here. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, and also you got to think as well, they're having a bye next week. It's always good to have those bye players for loop options in that week. So, but then again, you also got to think, you're stocking up on strikers this week. They're also sharing the bye with the Heat. So are you going to have enough people to? You'll more than likely have enough people to loop in next week with strikers and Heat having the bye.
The other two players that are interesting are Walter. I thought Walter looked good. He averaged 50 in each game. He did pretty well. And the other one I didn't mind was Brown when he came in. Geez, he looked good when he did. You know, he just goes after it. And I like what he does as opposed to how he did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he's so good to watch. He's just exciting to watch. But you know, Paul, a lot of people jumped on him. I did a last minute trade out on Paul, just because I thought he's batting low. I'm not sure if he's going to bowl, and then he comes out and bowls that slow, annoying crap that gets every batter out. It's like out of the back of the hands. It's these knuckleballs. It is the most frustrating stuff to face as a batter, and it gets wickets. So when I saw that, I'm like, love it. This guy is actually a guy that I wouldn't mind in my team because
Yeah,
You're gonna get those
BBL
pretty-
gets crap.
Sorry.
And that's it. I was going to sell Walter over Munro based on the break even. But there's a world where I let go of Munro and keep Walter based on one that bowls and bats as opposed to just bat. You know, like with 9 rounds, I would argue that money's not the key this year. But, you know, I mean, it's always nice. You know, I mean, Munro, if he makes a bit of coin this week and gets some points, I can switch him up to just about anyone in the game next week, you know. So there is a reason to hold Munro. But there is a world where I sell Munro over Richo. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of options to pick from this week. Yeah. So we'll move on to the final game of the round. We've already spoken about Adelaide, but we've got the Sixers. You already mentioned earlier that Sixers aren't really in the plan at the moment. Is there anyone that you would bring in?
Well, again, keeper, Philippe, points per dollar. I guess if you're looking for somebody and you want someone that you know is consistent, plays at Sydney Cricket Ground, him, and even playing Adelaide, even in Adelaide or at Sydney, I can't remember that game is, but I think it's at Sydney, SCG. Philippe has a good record there, and Adelaide's a good scoring game if it was there, but I'm pretty sure it's Sydney. Philippe would be the only one. The question is, who do you sell? Do you own Dwarshuis? Do you own Abbott? Philippe? There's a few people out there that are Abbott, Curran. You know, I personally don't see them being any value to my plans going forward. But Philippe would be one that if I was going to look at a Sixers, that's probably the one I'd go for based on making cash.
Yeah. No, I think what I see there as well is like if you're going to put him in 3 categories, buy, hold, or sell. I wouldn't be buying Philippe, but I'd definitely hold him. I've got Philippe at the moment. I think there's other options you want to try and get first, but then you look at the strikers and you think, is there any keeper that you want to? There's no keeper. Like, is it Nilsson that you're going to be keeping for him? And he's going to bat at what? 7? He's going to bat at what, 7?
No, he'll bat lower, I reckon. I reckon that people like Overton, Basley all come in before Nilsson. He could move down realistically as low as 9. I mean, that's insane for a just bat. But I'm serious. Like, you have a look. Like, who are you going to bat over him? You got Darcy Short, Lynn, Jose, Weatherall, Baz, Overton, Manenti. I'm batting all of them before I bat Nilsson. Like, seriously. And then, so, I mean, I'm probably wrong. You know, I mean, I'm not the coach, but he's not much of a bat. He's there purely as a keeper. Yeah.
It's strange. Yeah, but it's always been their curse. They've always had, like, Carey, who's always off playing for Australia. Always been one of the good quality keepers that you'd love to have on your team because you can bat all right too. And then he goes off and plays for Australia, and these guys are stuck with Nelson, poor bugger. Not a bad keeper.
Points per dollar. Moses Hendricks wasn't a bad shout, just for the record. He bowled a couple. There can be a scenario where he bowls again. I mean, having said that, Abbott was out. That changes the game a little. So, but yeah, Sixers aren't in my plans. If you own them and they're break even's right, hold them. But I wouldn't be buying Philippe. But you asked me the question, who would you? That would be the one. Yeah.
I didn't want to get to the last game and not talk about it. I think we have to try and have some kind of conversation about it. And
absolutely.
And you got to think as well. The Sixers have always got a strong team and a lot of players that are Supercoach relevant. It's just this is more a strategic game. BBL. You got to be strategic when it comes to double gamers and buys and have them in the back of your mind. Watch the games. See how they're playing. See what the rotations look like before they have their double, and that way you can make up your mind when they're getting closer to those doubles. So,
someone like Sutherland, who bats and bowls, who's coming in for a double game, that's going to bat bowl, makes a lot more sense to prioritise over someone that's just a bat. But sometimes people mess their side up so bad that they need a keeper. My suggestion, if you're going to get a keeper, I would be looking at Harper or I'd be looking at Clark, because Harper has doubles coming up, Clark has doubles coming up. But that's where I'd be going with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if you need a loop.
Totally agree with that. I'd be looking at the Renegades. And I know they're going to buy this week, so I'll be looking at targeting a Stars keeper as well, potentially for next week.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the games done. Let's talk trades. So I'm happy to go first. What I'll do is I brought in I've got Matt Short in this week. I feel like I'm just going with the crowd here. I'll probably should do more research. I feel like as the captain, I feel like he's going to try to bowl himself and do that Maxwell thing he does at the start. And he's very, very likely to. I still think he's likely to jag a sneaky wicket. I don't see him bowling enough overs to get the economy rate bonus. I see maybe 1-2 overs max at the start. But it also comes down if Manenti doesn't get named, for example, then I feel as though I always have to have Short because then you got Boyce and the two spinners will be Boyce and Short. And so you keep an eye on which spinners get named. I've also brought in Boyce. I'm going to play him from the Pine. I want to try and get a few different pods that people don't have. And Boyce, although can jag a pretty low score, is known to sneak a hat-trick every now and then and can get a pretty good score. So if I think put him on the bench, if he plays terribly, I don't need to use him. If he plays great, then I got him and no one else does. So there you go.
I don't hate Boyce. I don't think Boyce will play. But if Boyce does play, I don't like that Thunder side. I really don't. I don't like what I saw from Thunder at all. So I do see a scenario where Boyce could do well. I think Manenti gets in over him, if either. With my trades at the moment, so I bought in Matt Short, Lynn, and Payne. But that's subjective. That's depending on it's team dependent, right?
Yeah.
So after I see the team, it could be anyone from Bazley. Bazley, Lynn. There's a world where I fade Matt Short, right? I'm being straight up with you. There is a world where I fade Matt Short, and it's risky, I know, but it will depend on the team I see going. There's a world where I get Bazley instead of Short, and I'm going to run Lynn, but yeah, we'll see. But at the moment, I've gone Bazley. I've gone Payne, Matt Short, and Lynn, and I have the money to mess around to change that to anything I really want to. If I get rid of Matt Short or if I get rid of Richo or Munro. I have to make a decision between Richo and Munro.
Yeah, my last one was Bazley that I've got at this moment as well. I haven't got Payne, and that's the one thing that I'm kind of leaning towards trying to fix. If they name Boyce and Manenti, both get named. There's a world where I end up going by Matt Short to Payne. Save a lot of cash there. But I feel so filthy even thinking about it, just what he did last year. But if there's three spinners on the team, I just don't see Matt Short getting many overs.
No, I even see a world with one spinner, you know. I mean, you got Darcy Short, who's only left-handed there besides Payne, left-hand spin. But having said that, his spin's not much different anyway than the others that are bowling with the right hand. So I don't know. I mean, I see a world where Matt Short bowls first over, you know, or maybe one over. And is he good enough? Like, that's 2 overs between 2 games and just bat at 244. That's a lot of coin. My decisions will come down to what actually happens with how the team's named. And then it'll come down to assessing. I'll look down at who I think's doing what. And then that will determine my side. But, yeah, Bazley's definitely in my sights, mate. So I think Bazley's a good shout. I think that batting lineup's weak, and I see a world where Bazley bats.
Love it. Awesome. All right, let's talk captain, vice captain. This could change 1,000 times as well, but I've currently gone Matt Short as my VC, which is like the obvious, very vanilla thing, and I've got Jai Richo as my captain at the moment. But more than likely, it'll be a loop. That's the goal. I think we're going to try, depending on what he gets in game one. Even if he gets an average score in game one, like a 50. He has another game to come, and Jai's got one, so I think it might be a smart choice to just go with the loop. And yourself, Glenn?
So my vice captain will be Matt Short or Bazley, depending on which way I play and how the teams are named. And my captain will be Sutherland. I'll be locking in Sutherland for my C. Unless I own Richo, there is a world where Richo becomes my captain over Sutherland. But, I mean, again, Sutherland, bat bowl versus just bowl. I don't know. I like Sutherland.
Yeah, no, I like him enough that I'm putting him on my team now. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I mean that's enough. You've got enough out of him. You're not captaining him. That's just go with Richo.
Yeah, I don't know. If I bring a guy in that I think is like I'm spending a boost here because I want to try and catch up. If I bring a guy in, I don't want to jinx him by captaining him as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, my mind changes, forever changes. You know, like at the moment, that all what I've said is what I've done and could possibly do. But I do change, my mind often, as I did last week. I changed friggin' Swepson to Kuhneman, and I've been kicking everything in the house because of it. But it is what it is. One's made money and more points. The other one's, just he did his job, I guess. But when one does better, you get annoyed, especially when they're doing it cheaper.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I literally had Swepson, and I'm like, I didn't have Swepson, and I'm like, now my thought process behind not having him was he always starts off terribly. He doesn't have a good start to the beat. He gets smacked around all the time. And I was like, then when I did my trades, I'm like, I need to downgrade someone, so I just brought in Swepson, and he went nuts. I was like, oh sweet, worked out pretty good for me. So one of the things worked out pretty good for me this week, which is good.
And there's a world where he didn't play both games. I mean, you saw it happen last year where he was replaced. He didn't play the both games. He was left out quite a bit. And he got more wickets in that 2 games than he got in the whole season from memory last year. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, my reasoning behind it not going in was right. It was just the wrong result. And sometimes you can make the wrong decision and get the right result, and you can make the right decision and get the wrong result. That's just BBL. It's a volatile game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alrighty, pretty much sums up this podcast. Unless there's anything else you want to bring up, Glenn?
No, I don't. I think that go through the teams before they're named, guys. Have a really good look and just go over them and think to yourself, how's this going to play out? Try and work out who's going to bowl, who's going to bat. And, I guess watch the break-evens, keep watching us, and hopefully we can steer you right. And if we don't, it's Dan's fault. If we do, it's my fault.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll accept that. All good.
Yeah, all good. No, good luck, everyone.
Fantastic, guys. See you all next week. Enjoy. I hope you all see some green arrows this week. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Cheers.